This episode of Between the Reps podcast is sponsored by Himalaya ashwagandha. You probably won't believe me when I say this, but there is a natural herb remedy that is here to help you with your stress, anxiety, worry, pressures at home, at work, with kids. There's so much that causes stress and anxiety these days. And of course, if you're like me, trying to find a natural remedy for that is the best way to go, is the only way to go. And I'm really hoping that Himalaya ashwagandha is going to be exactly what I need. So far, feeling really good about it. But what is ashwagandha? The simple answer is ashwagandha is an herb. In ancient times, ashwagandha was considered the king of Ayurvedic herbs, and it was used for a wide variety of conditions. In functional medicine today, we harness the power of ashwagandha primarily to help our bodies adapt to the stress of modern day life so we can feel calm and balanced. Thanks to Himalaya for sponsoring this episode of the Between the Reps podcast. Himalaya ashwagandha, designed to help your body better adapt to stress. Enjoy 20% off your first purchase of Himalaya ashwagandha. Use the discount code BrookeEnce20 when you check out on Amazon. To learn more about Himalaya ashwagandha and Ayurvedic wellness, visit HimalayaUSA.com.
In honor of reaching the 100 episode milestone a few weeks ago, today we're doing a little best of episode with a few interviews and segments that we gathered together to show you how much we love doing this podcast. So from us to you, our listeners, thank you so much for listening and thank you for your support. And we just really hope you enjoy it.
What's up, guys? Welcome to Between the Reps with Brooke and Gina. I am Brooke Ence, and here's a little thing about me, I guess. I am a CrossFit Games athlete. I went to the CrossFit Games in 2015. I won 2 events. That is my claim to fame.
Huge deal.
Yes.
Big deal.
I was an Amazon in the movie Wonder Woman. You probably won't see me that much. That's all right, but know that I was there. It couldn't have happened without me. I was also an Amazon in the movie The Justice League. You definitely saw me in that one. I saved the queen. So when you see the blonde holding up the wall, that's me. I am super driven. I want to build tons of businesses, help people, motivate people. I've got Ence. It's a clothing line, apparel line. That's something I always thought I would want to do, but didn't know that it was going to happen. And I also just launched a programming company, and we have an app. It's called the Naked Training app, and our program is called the Naked Program. And it is about looking good naked. It's about the 99% of people out there that just want to feel good about themselves and be strong and be surrounded by positive community. And that's what we're building. And it's awesome. I honestly do have so much going on that I forget all the things that I have going on.
Well, now you're doing a podcast.
And now I'm doing a podcast, so now I got to tell you guys all these cool things.
Well, and the more you're going on and on with all the things
you're doing.
Asleep? No. I mean, I'm just sitting here going like, when it gets to Gina.
Oh my God, what am I going to say?
Well, guys, I'm a mother of 4. I was a stay-at-home mom for a lot of years, and met Brooke because we invested in a gym, and now I'm just lucky enough to go on all these adventures with her because she's been so good about giving me these opportunities and trying to reinvent myself, figure out what I want to be when I grow up. And so that's me in a nutshell.
And she is definitely, you all know she's older than me, and I love having her around. She is experienced with many things, including all the stuff that we go through as women, and I'm going to go through. That's also why I keep her around.
I've done it
so
first.
As I go through it, she's already gone through it. She is very intelligent. She's, level-headed. I like to keep her around for business things. And more than that, I find it so entertaining to put her kind of on blast. And we never thought we would be doing, I definitely never thought I'd be doing a podcast.
No way.
Actually.
Well, I definitely never thought that. So let's just put that.
Yet here we are.
Yes, here we are.
And with doing it comes a level of stress.
Yeah.
And for you, means hives.
Yeah, a lot of hives. Yeah. I can't talk about it right now because I'm honestly sweating so bad that I'm like, can somebody come over here and blow in my armpits or something? Okay. Yeah. So yeah, getting here was fun too. Got down here. Not only did I have a food allergy with my lip's actually almost touching this microphone for any of you that, well, I guess you can actually see it later if you go on your YouTube because they're filming it.
Gina's worst case scenario girl.
I am.
So things that could kind of go wrong tend to go wrong for her sometimes.
Which I think is another reason why you like being around me. It's just for the entertainment.
I mean, vice versa.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, for sure.
So yes.
So hey, what's our podcast going to be about?
Hey, so we're here now. But what are we doing?
So let me ask you really naturally.
I think just like my, I know. Just like my YouTube channel, there is so much more to me and what I'm doing and to me and Gina than just training. But it is the cornerstone of almost everything that we do. Health and fitness is so important to us that is going to be a big portion of what we're going to be talking about and touching on our podcast. But within that, there's a lot of other things we may want to talk about, that's not necessarily what we're doing in the gym, but it might be what things are affecting us outside the gym, whether it's shopping for clothes that fit or don't fit, for shopping for food, experiences when we're traveling.
Right. It'll just be like our personal experiences with all of these different things.
Yeah, it really is. It's just life. And our life is so wrapped around caring about, how healthy and fit we are. In all aspects of that, not just, again, in the training facility or in the gym. And that's what we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
It's episode 2, which means they haven't kicked us out yet, Gina.
We've made it past the first, so we're
haven't
good.
failed.
Yeah.
And they're wanting more.
Yeah. So what are we going to talk about today?
Today, we're talking about boobs. Be more specific, we are talking about breast augmentation. Hopefully some of you don't know who I am, because that means that my audience is getting bigger, and that's a good thing. Not only for this podcast, but for, I guess, honestly, my brand and my career.
Yeah.
And yours. Because now we're building you one.
That's right.
A big one.
It's mine too.
I recently had my boobs redone. I had my breasts done in college, actually. And I got them redone. Obviously, some people probably speculated that I had fake boobs, not because they were big, but because of, I guess, the way they may look. And I was really, really muscular. So.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of people were surprised when they realized you'd had boobs.
Yeah. I mean, I was surprised the amount of people that didn't know that they were real. But I recently got them redone, and me and Gina actually did a little Instagram live where we talked about it, because I was getting so many questions. In fact, I really loved it. I was very honest about what I had done, and so many women, that had been wondering or, interested, or they were also about to go through a surgery. Just like a lot of you had a lot of questions, and we tried to answer them on an Instagram live. And you have been asking for us to do another video on it. So now we're doing a podcast on it.
Well, and we're not saying this is not like a pro boob job or not. We're just, explaining our experiences with it, because we both have fake boobies. So, and we have very different experiences, but, or have done it for different reasons.
Yeah.
So we just wanted to let everyone know what our experience is.
Yeah. And we'll try and touch on, a lot of the different questions, like what type, under the muscle, over the muscle, training, sports bras.
Can you work out?
How can I work out? Bench pressing, things like this. We're going to talk about all that.
How big did you go?
Yeah. How big did you go?
How many cc's do you have?
And we'll also touch on a couple other, subjects that are going to come along with that. It's body image, people that are, really want to be very against doing it. I will say it's really a to each their own type of a thing.
Sure.
And I think what we all can learn from this is that you should worry about your own body. Literally. I mean, you can't decide. I don't know. It's not a subject that is touchy, but in this day and age, everyone gets offended really easily.
Yeah, and I think people get it mixed up with self-love. This is not, we're not talking about self-love right here. We're just talking about what made us feel better about ourselves.
Yeah, it literally comes down to what you wanted to do, and it's your body, and it's not mine, so I'm not going to worry about it, except for I'm going to worry about your body, Gina. You better go through me for everything.
I'm going to ask you permission for everything.
Hey, so first and foremost, you want me to tell, I can start and tell my very first experience, or do you want to tell your very first experience?
I feel like you should tell your experience.
My first one.
Yeah.
All right. So
you had your first boobs done when?
a younger me, I was in college, and first of all, it's me. I have two sisters. My mom and my oldest sister were very well endowed. Okay.
Right.
Like my mom, always had really big boobs. In fact, she was having so many back problems because of this the weight that you're carrying, that she had them reduced years
I
ago.
didn't realize that.
Yeah. And then my sister, my oldest sister, same thing. I mean, she had really, really big boobs, and same thing. She ended up getting them reduced because they're heavy and you carry them around everywhere you go.
Right.
Me and my other sister, I'm the youngest. Nothing, man. Nothing. I mean, my nickname, oh my God, I'm going to tell you guys this and you better not use it. Don't you be tweeting this at me. Actually, I don't care if you do. Mosquito bites. A bunch of you have probably heard the same thing.
Oh, man.
My sisters talked about my mosquito bites and my mom, and it was like, that's just the way it was. It was fine. Right. And that's not why I got my boobs. Everyone's like, oh, because you had no boobs. You got your boobs done. No, I went to college. I always had an A cup, a double A
Sounds
cup.
like you just had a nipple if you had mosquito bites.
Yeah. Well, I mean, double A cup. Okay. Very small boobs. And I went to college and I got into doing more like going to like a Globo gym, and I did a figure competition. So I was a modern dance major at the University of Utah. I always was a very, very athletic dancer. I've had my genetics. I have a very athletic build. We can talk about that another time. But we had someone come and teach a class at the university, and she was a kickboxing instructor, and she was Miss Utah for fitness. And I remember her coming, and she was like, they dance around and they're very athletic, and she had this beautiful body, and it reminded me a lot of like my natural body. And so I was very interested in seeing like what it is that she did, and I wanted to try one too. Well, at the time they didn't have for fitness. Fitness is like the girls that dance around and they do like one-handed push-ups and things like that. Yeah. But they only had figure or bikini. So I had this opportunity to do a figure competition, and I did that. Well, I did that, I leaned out quite a bit. I lost some weight. And then after the show, when I started to gain a little weight back, a little fat back, I had lost all my boobs. And when they started to grow back, mine were significantly different sizes. Like, from what I understand, all women kind of we're not super symmetrical. So like one is typically a little bigger than the other one. But mine was significantly different. So in like my bra, I would fill out one side and not even come close to the other side. And that was just the way that they were growing back. And it was more of like it was a self-esteem thing for me in college, Sure. But I was a dancer and I was in a leotard 24/7. I didn't want to get big boobs where everyone was like, could tell that I had fake boobs. The goal was to have boobs that
were the same size.
And are you sick?
No.
I'm kidding.
I'm breathing all over this microphone.
I have boobs that were the same
germs.
size. And I went to my parents and talked to my parents, and we agreed we would do this. So I had the surgery, got them done. This was in college, so it was right during like Christmas break. So I was taking a break from dance, so I didn't have to worry about it, like training and stuff.
Right.
I do remember we went under the muscle. They went through my armpit, actually, so I didn't have any scarring on my chest. And it was a uncomfortable comeback, but at the time I wasn't doing a ton of weight training. So I don't think it was as uncomfortable as it would have been if this time was my first time.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because when they go under the muscle, they basically go in and they cut a pocket. And that pocket is where they put the implant. And in that area, you'll get scar tissue, and it kind of creates a space for it. So when I got them redone, I had been wanting to get them redone. But when I got them redone, it was still a recovery process of me having to take I think it was like 6 weeks.
Well, you were already recovering from something else. That's why you chose to do it when you did.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
that was
I knew
another
that I
reason.
had to do stem cell injections on my shoulders.
Right.
And I was going to be not doing any overhead work, any overhead training for a while.
Right.
A long time. So I was like, well, this is the perfect time to be able to recover from everything, because there's never going to be a time where I'm going to be like, I can't train my upper body. So it was the perfect time for me to get them done. I'd been wanting to get them redone. It had been, 10 years. And
So I have a question for you. Why did you want to get them redone? I feel like people would be interested in that.
they would be interested in that. Okay.
I mean, you had a lot of people asking you that. So, yeah.
So for me, this is what I was told. I got my boobs done. They're very swollen. And then when the swelling went down, like you kind of have these, you have the checkups where you go back to the doctor and they check them and all this stuff. Well, I remember my swelling went down and my right boob sat slightly lower than my left. And I mean, you can feel my sternum and it's a little bit uneven, but the doctor had told me that the reason it was like that was because of my sternum.
Sorry for
He lied.
What a liar. He
lied.
basically screwed up.
Yeah.
He screwed up.
So,
but
he told me,
how would you know?
He told me that that's what it was from. And and so for me, I had this area on my chest, and I'm fairly lean, and I have genetically, I have like thin skin. And I just got used to seeing it like that. Like, and it always sat a little bit lower, and I was fine with it for a long time. And then I think it wasn't as noticeable back then as it became as I became more
athletic, right?
In a new sport. And so it was just an insecurity that I had. I didn't like to wear any shirts that were low cut. I was insecure about wearing bikinis, and it was something that I just came to terms with, but it was still something that did bother me. And I knew that I wanted to go in and, find a doctor that was the best and see if that was the issue with my sternum. Because what the doctor told me is, he said, the only way we could fix that is we'd have to go in, break your sternum.
Wait, the original doctor said this?
Yes. Break your sternum, rebuild it, like reconstruct it. And I was like, I don't need perfect boobs that bad. And that's what he told me. And then,
of course he did. You're like, well, no, please do not break my
So
my chest.
When I had this opportunity and this amount of time that I was taking off from my upper body, I was like, this is kind of the perfect time to do this. And I had already found a doctor, because we had been talking, Gina, about me, like just going in to a doctor, having them look at me, create a plan.
Right.
Not to have surgery right now, but just to create a plan, so I knew I could almost like strategically place it either in a specific year or a specific time of year to be able to have it done. And it was just the right time. This episode of Between the Reps podcast is sponsored by Himalaya ashwagandha. And that is a mouthful. Ashwagandha. Stress, anxiety, worrying, pressures of at home, pressures at work, kids. That is something that everyone can relate to one way or another. And there is a supplement for that. And even better, it's an herb. I am a true believer in finding natural remedies to help, issues, things you're going through, things like stress. And I'm very confident in ashwagandha. Ashwagandha is considered the king of Ayurvedic herbs, and it was used for wide varieties of conditions. But in functional medicine today, we harness the power of ashwagandha primarily to help our bodies adapt to the stress of modern day life so we can feel calm and balanced. Everyone needs to feel calm and balanced, especially this time in 2020. Himalaya ashwagandha is organic, non-GMO, contains no binders or fillers, and is clinically studied for safety and efficacy. Stress less and find calm with Himalaya ashwagandha. The best part, you can get 20% off your first purchase on Amazon with discount code BrookeEnce20. Thanks to Himalaya for sponsoring this episode of the Between the Reps podcast. Himalaya ashwagandha, designed to help your body better adapt to stress. Enjoy 20% off your first purchase of Himalaya ashwagandha. Use the discount code BrookeEnce20 when you check out on Amazon. To learn more about Himalaya ashwagandha and Ayurvedic wellness, visit HimalayaUSA.com.
I don't know about you guys, but I I would imagine that you guys feel the same way. I don't like taking vitamins because I don't really know what's in them. I know what they say is in them, but they've found that there's vitamins that have really strange synthetic fillers and artificial colorants, and they have, things like sheep's wool and gelatin from hooves and hides, and that's just not really something I want to take. So Brooke and I found this vitamin company that is amazing. It's called Ritual, and I take their essentials for women. And you know what I love about this is you open it up and it smells like you just cut a sprig of mint. I mean, it's so natural smelling and smells great and tastes great. And so, yeah, it makes me want to actually take it and remember to take it. Ritual is formulated with key nutrients, including vitamin D3 to help fill gaps in the diet. Their fresh-tasting, delayed-release capsules are designed to dissolve later in less sensitive areas of the stomach so you can take them with or without food. Your multivitamins are delivered to your door every month with free shipping always. You can start, snooze, or cancel your subscription anytime, and if you don't love Ritual within your first month, they'll refund your first order. You deserve to know what's in your multivitamin. That's why Ritual is offering our listeners 10% off during your first 3 months. Visit ritual.com/reps to start your Ritual today. Again, that's Ritual, RITUAL.com/reps.
Hey guys, welcome to Between the Reps with Brooke and Gina. And this is our first episode where we have a guest.
Yay!
I feel so honored.
Guest host. We're all hosts here.
Yeah, we're all equals.
We have Brianna Cox, and she is a really good friend of mine. I've known her for a long time. She is a pre- and postnatal specialist, personal trainer. She's been training for 10 years, specializes in nutrition. And we're having her on to talk about being pregnant while you are still training and staying healthy. She is having her third baby, so she has way more experience than me and even way more experience than Gina because Gina never was training.
I didn't work out when I was pregnant.
But you can find her on social media on Instagram at bodybybrie2, so the number 2. She's got online coaching. She's now actually a coach with me in my Naked program, which we are revamping and relaunching new stuff for early next year. So yeah, you're going to see a lot more. You are going to see a lot more of her.
Not more.
You're going to see not more of her. You're going to see a whole hell of a lot more of her through my social channels as we start launching new programs. But what we want to talk about today is something I know half about, Gina knows half about, and Brianna has
She knows all about.
She knows all about
All
it, and
about
it's
it.
being
All
pregnant
the nitty-gritty.
Yeah.
and training. So you are currently 15 weeks pregnant
Yes.
with baby number 3.
Yes.
Which is crazy because she's teeny.
No,
Yeah.
I'm not.
She's like, she shows up, looks so
Teeny
cute.
tiny. We rolled out of
I'm
bed.
a total hot mess. I just flew in from
Girl has
Atlanta.
got it together, man.
And she's adorable, and she's like, she's tiny. Anyways, before we get into it really quick, just give me a little rundown about like a few bullet points about you that other people may not know, and then we're just going to get right into about how hard it is to build a baby.
Right. It is hard. Just a couple bullet points. I already have 2 children. So I just
Experience.
How old are they?
Yes, I have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old.
Oh, you're busy.
I am busy.
They're adorable.
I'm very busy, but I feel like I just can relate to moms, and that's what I am very passionate about because I always see women working out and they're doing things that I'm like, stop, you're gonna hurt your body. So it's just like my mission to help spread this information because I'm so passionate about it. And I hurt myself after my first, so I'm like, I don't want other people to do that, you know?
So what specifically would you say was like the biggest issue coming back, I guess? Which is like at a certain point needing to be like, now I have to really start over with like my pelvic floor.
Yes. And I think you're just not used, like for me, the first baby, I was like, whose body is this? Like I had no idea. My hips were wider, so then my knees were out of alignment, my back hurt. You have extra progesterone in your body, so you can pull muscles really easily and ligaments. Your joints are all loose. Like it is the weirdest. And you're like kind of humbled because you're like, oh man, I gotta start all over again.
Yeah,
Right.
So I think that was probably the hardest, and also just listening to your body and taking it slow. Because, like I said, just jumping right back into it too soon is where you do damage. And also, I was going to say, when you're doing your workouts when you're pregnant, most women don't realize that their abs have separated.
Yeah, I've definitely heard a lot about that and seen that separation that doesn't come back together.
Yes. Yeah, the diastasis recti. So you'll have everybody's abs will separate when they're pregnant. That's just what happens. It's a baby coming through. So your abs have to go to the side.
Yep.
So for me at 15 weeks, mine are already separated. I've already cut out all core exercises. Like this baby, I am so much more cautious because when you keep doing abs, when your abs are already separating, it's just going to keep pulling them apart. It's just going to put more pressure on your abs. Mm-hmm. And it's going to make them separate faster. And women think, oh, I'll keep working core so my stomach stays smaller. But that's the opposite of what you want to do.
Oh, because it doesn't want to go all the way back together?
Yeah, because when let's say you're doing planks and your abs are already separating, it's just going to keep separating more.
Yeah, because when you flex your core, it definitely does make things start to contract. So if your body's pulling it this way, and it's still wanting to contract, it's probably...
It's too much pressure. So right now, if I lean back, my abs cone out in the middle because I have a 1-inch gap where I don't have any abs.
Right.
And
I've seen that, and you can almost feel it.
Yes. And
it's
so
like an alien.
Exactly. Once that starts happening, you want to stop doing all your core exercises. And then same with the jumping, pounding movements. Even first trimester, things are super you just have to be very careful because you can knock the sack off of the walls. And so you just want to be careful with doing pounding stuff, like box jumps, running, jumping jacks, that's all fine. But just pounding stuff you want to be careful with. And I cut out, now that I'm in my second trimester, I cut out box jumps, running even, because it's still your uterus is so heavy and it's still pounding on your pelvic floor muscles and mine are weak. So I'm very, very cautious. So anyway.
I think a lot of times people think too, it's for the baby. You know what I mean? I mean, the baby's protected, right?
Yes.
And so everyone's like, oh, the baby's fine because it's got all the liquid around it or whatever, but it is really just for your own body.
Yes, you're supporting muscles.
Right.
So then after women have a hard time holding their pee, their bladders are super loose, everything's loose. And you can have prolapse where your uterus actually drops.
I've heard of that.
Yeah.
That would be so terrifying.
Yes.
My God. What is that?
Sorry, my uterus just fell out.
No, seriously. No, seriously. Or you feel your insides are so loose that they're gonna fall out. You feel it.
That's
it's
terrifying.
So loose. So you want to just avoid that at all costs. So,
I just heard
My
about
hands
this.
are full. My uterus is falling out.
No, I was just talking to somebody about this because they have a PT or something like that that's just for pelvic floor.
Yes.
And it's
my friend
crazy.
Jen has one.
No, so she went in and this woman, she laid on her back. She put her finger in her vagina and then made her do a Kegel and hold it for 10 seconds. And I was like,
I'm doing it right now.
Are they qualified to do that? Do you check someone's qualifications? Can you imagine if a man just came up and was like, I'm going to put my finger in your vagina.
Squeeze.
I want you to squeeze. I'm going to hold it for 10 seconds. And yep, you're good.
Yeah, that is
I've heard
it's
that.
crazy. You have to actually go to physical therapy to repair your pelvic floor if it's that damaged.
Well, and because there's no other way to get to it.
Right.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? There's I've never had anyone.
I look
I've never had anyone.
looking you're strapping in or
I've
something
never
like
had
that.
anyone, have you seen the Kegel weights? They're weights that you hold in. You have to try to hold
You have to hold them in. I've actually
works,
done that
though.
before.
It works.
Yeah, I used to do it in the shower.
A girlfriend of mine, she and I get this if I'm on my period. In the middle of a training session, I get the gnarliest cramps. Mm-hmm. That everything is seizing up basically, and it feels. The only way I can describe it to people, mostly to men, to try and no, that also happens. That's
when
for another episode. That is true, and that's for a different
It's
episode.
like Arnold.
But basically, I tried to explain. It feels like I am coming.
Yeah. I'm glad you got that reference.
But I'm when I try to explain it to men mostly, I'm it literally feels like my insides, my low, your low pelvic floor is like a wet rag being wrung out.
Right.
And it's for her, it will happen. For Jen, it happens a lot. And it will last for so long after she trains, and it happens during competitions. And so she started working with a same thing, a pelvic floor specialist. It's
because she's had kids. Yeah.
No, Jen
from
hasn't
kids?
had no kids.
Oh.
She's just so tight down there.
Yeah.
Oh, well, good for her.
Oh, good
We
for
all
her.
want to be tight down there.
Well, good for her.
Oh, good for you. Oh, yeah? You are?
But on the opposite end, there are women who are scared to work out because they're like, oh, I don't want to, hurt anything. And then that, on the other hand, is also not good because it's so beneficial. It makes your labor faster, your recovery way quicker. It even helps with like varicose veins, helps with your blood circulation, all of your, like when you get cankles and stuff, it helps with all of that because when you work out, you're moving all your
blood
flow
around.
Exactly. It helps with your mood. It helps you eat healthier. So I'm like the biggest advocate of working out pregnant, and it's completely safe. You just have to know the modifications.
Well, and you really just have to, for me, same thing. It's like I know how to work with pregnant women in the gym, but it's still different than when you yourself are pregnant because everyone's going to have a different pregnancy. So super important to practice being able to check in with yourself to know how things feel and then get off you're going to have to be humble.
Yes.
Like you said, like you were humbled because especially in, I think people like from my sort of training, like we really do, you train through discomfort. And when we train people, we're teaching them that this discomfort isn't bad.
Yeah.
So now if you've learned how to understand
Push
that like this
through.
pain is actually not bad, it's actually good, and that's how we see results, and that's how you build muscle and get stronger. Well, now you're going to have to start to learn another way of well, that's important to have, but now you're learning your body in a whole new way. So I like what you said about that, like you were pregnant and you were finished and you're like, whose body is this? Like everything is different, so I guess if I ever decided to build one of those things called a baby, I've definitely had to go through the process of stop doing all my training and having to come back from
It's like an injury. Your baby's an injury.
And it's
Your
so
baby's
hard
an
to
injury.
start over every time.
Yeah. I don't like to listen to myself talk.
Yeah, same.
So I don't listen. I watch our videos a lot because we're funny. I don't listen to podcasts that I'm on. Once I do it, I don't really go back and re-listen to it.
Right.
I just ask people if they liked it, and then sometimes we'll read comments and just try to respond back. So this one, I kind of knew going into it. Even I like going there a lot, and me and Mark are going to start doing with his company. We're going to start doing a bit more work together. I already know what I'm kind of getting myself into when it comes to people's reactions to me or comments and things like that. So I like to say that you can't surprise me. I've heard everything.
Unfortunately.
But sometimes I am surprised. Sometimes I like the creativity. Of the insult.
Of the insult. Seriously.
I like it when people get a little more creative with their insults. In fact, I usually comment back and I'm like, nice.
Yeah. Good one.
Never heard that before.
I'm going to like that comment.
Can't say that. But I watched the video and I was like, okay, I'll just read the comments a little bit. And of course, there's comments in there that were nice or whatever. And then there was not tons of comments. There was comments that are mean. And it's funny. We'll come back to some of those comments and I'll pull it up and we can read some. So then you guys can see me the way that they see me. But what's funny is we're getting ready to come to work. And even though I know that what they're saying isn't accurate, even if it's not about that, it's so forward of oh, this chick definitely does steroids. Oh, I bet her dick's so big. All this kind of stuff.
Who are these people?
The other comments about my appearance or whatever, it really changes the way that I see myself in the mirror, and I can't even control it. I was trying to get ready and trying to get dressed, and I'm over there, and Gina's like, "Are you having a hard time getting dressed?" I'm like, "Yes."
I know.
I don't know what to wear. I'm like, "Does this look okay? Does this look okay?"
And you look amazing.
I'm in the bathroom, and our bathroom has terrible lighting, so I'm trying to do my makeup and my hair, and it's funny that.
Well, it's honest. I think it's so sad because I think that people are like, oh, no, you should just, rise above. And yeah, of course you're going to do that. And of course, at the core of you, that it's not true. But of course it's going to make an impact. You can't have people saying things like that and it not affect you.
Yeah. Well, and
I think that I don't know if people really realize that. I don't know if they're just so rotten to the core.
Yeah, there are rotten
or if they
people.
just feel so shitty about themselves that they just need to lash out. I can honestly say I've never watched. I've definitely watched something before where I'm like, oh, that's kind of weird, or I don't really like what they're saying or something like that. But to go out of your way to comment on somebody's looks or their just to be so cruel. It blows me away that they would feel comfortable doing something like that. It's really sad to me.
Yeah, I mean, there are, I try to remind myself like even on Instagram and things like that, but I think like my Instagram, I definitely get some mean comments, and now I'll get on some posts like more comments than other ones. And so I'll go through the comments and I try to comment back to people, and I do I do my own social media. I'm not like a big celebrity that like doesn't do that. Right. So, and I'll see mean comments, and now I'll just erase them, mostly just because if they're really mean, I just don't want one. I love my people and my fans because you guys, I mean,
for the most part, you have a lot of, I think the ratio of positive versus negative, the positive outweighs.
It's not even close.
What's awesome is when all of your fans or people that love you go after that person for you.
Yeah.
You don't even have to.
And that's the only time, like, when I have gone in and, like, really, like, just erased a comment. Because if I feel like that's taking over the comment section.
Right.
And there's the whole idea, too, of, like, if they're talking, like, that's good. It's good to have conversation. And but sometimes I'll erase comments just because I don't want, like, the vibe or the feeling or anyone new coming to my profile or anyone new coming to a YouTube video to, like, go to comment and then maybe they watch it and they feel a certain way, but then they read something, and even if it's not what they believe, but they're upset about it, I don't want them to leave the video feeling upset or like feeling mad at people or.
Well, and really it's, if you're already kind of wanting to, you're trying to promote people not saying these terrible, awful things. And it's nice that when the fans are all like going after that person, but then it also becomes like a witch hunt almost. You know what I'm saying? Yep. And it's kind of like two wrongs don't make a right. Like you don't want, and it's nice of them to like want to do that for you, but then sometimes that gets out of hand, when they're going after the person that's made the bad comment.
Yeah.
So you just don't want that negativity at all.
But it's going to be there. Yep. And
it's inevitable.
I am not on steroids, people.
No, you are not.
And I never have been. And unfortunately, not unfortunately, but like the way that I look, like my physique, that's just a result of hard work. And in my sport, we don't like in CrossFit, and like this is for me to speak to for everyone. Like I'm going to speak for all my friends in CrossFit and for people that maybe aren't necessarily my close friends, and don't be mad if I'm speaking for you, but we train for performance in mind. We train for strength in mind, and our bodies end up just looking the way that they're going to look based off of our genetics. And that's just the way that it is. It's like me, like I've been doing, training high volume. I've been training the way I do for many years now. And like my weight is the same, you definitely things start to change and start to look a certain way. And that's a result of the hard work you're putting in. And that's just the way that it is. Like that, this is what my body looks like. This is what it looks like with what my parents have given me. And that's it. And so
and it's beautiful.
Thanks, Gina.
You're beautiful.
Tell me I'm pretty.
You are pretty.
But what I get irritated at is like people that can't just be logical. Like, okay, because I will tell you, I have 100% seen women and men that I can look at them and say, yeah. Okay? And that's even with me, that's not just looking at like me judging.
No.
It's more so like thinking, like looking at things and being pretty logical about a lot of stuff that are factors, right? So, but like I would say for me, people want to, initially you don't want to, if you can't quite believe something because it seems so like out of your reach or like it couldn't be something that you could do.
Right.
Everything is now like, oh, well, that's not achievable without this. Oh, right. And so many men that will say stuff too. I'm like, they're like, oh, a female could never have that without X, Y, Z. And I love to come back and be like, well, we were made the same way. Like, the only thing that makes me different than you is I have a vagina.
And a
ovaries,
uterus.
and a uterus.
Right.
And my hormone levels are different than yours, but that's pretty much it. Like, you can't like all of a sudden think, oh, like you just actually can't achieve any of that because you're a woman, or you can't achieve any of that as a woman naturally. But in reality, we all have muscle. We all have this stuff that when you put let's say a training model, and you commit to it for a very long time, unless you yourself have done that and really tested it for a long time, you have no floor to stand on with deciding what someone can and cannot do with hard work. And like hard work in a lot of things, diet, sleep, like all these outside factors that allow you to be the best at your sport. And also we understand that people that are the best at their sport, you're a less than 1%. That may not be something that everyone can actually do, but you want to know why they probably can't? One could be a genetic thing. Two could be because you don't want to put in years of training and focus and time and effort, And so for me, it's like, okay, let's think logically about like the human body, or let's think logically about how a baby is made. In my case, I'm going to stop real quick. Read The Sport Gene. It's a book. Read that book. And then make some claims. And even when I read it, it opened, like I already felt a certain way, but like it opened my eyes to be like, oh. And it's like stuff that you're like, wow, like I don't know why I never thought of it that way. You're a baby, embryo or whatever. You have two people that made you. If you come out as a girl, it doesn't mean only your mom made you.
Right.
If you come out as a boy, it doesn't mean only your dad made you. Also, all boys start as women, so
Is that true?
Yes.
I did not know that.
All babies are girls before they turn into boys.
That's a real thing.
Yeah, all babies have ovaries, and your ovaries drop into testicles. So yes.
Is that a real thing?
That's a real thing. And that's a hormone thing. That's like when you start to, like your hormones, you get your chromosomes, right?
Yeah.
But babies all start as female.
Oh my God. My sister used to just like tease my son so much and tell him that he was born a girl and turned into a boy. So I guess that's actually true. No, he wasn't born a girl, but yeah. Conceived as a girl, I guess.
For instance, in the Sport Gene, they kind of talk about very, very specific cases in the Olympics. And I'm not going to get into it because I don't have the book and I can't be very specific.
Right.
But just think about it this way. When you're a baby, you receive characteristics from both parties, from your male and female counterparts.
Right.
So there are characteristics that can allow you to be better at certain things based on your body. And so, for instance, like a male, if you guys aren't watching the video, I threw up my quotations.
Quotes.
A male characteristic is like narrow hips, broad shoulders, long forearms. Narrow hips for like running, being able to like be really agile, long forearms for throwing. And you can like take a lot of these characteristics like back to like just like through evolution, right? Of like what you needed to do. And like women have hips because they're childbearing hips. Like I was literally told one time, like maybe when you have a baby, your hips will widen and you'll have more of a female figure.
Like your balls dropping, your hips will drop.
My hips will drop and land wide and outside. And to me, I was like, I don't want wider hips. Like don't. Like you're
fine the way you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, for instance, like, one, my arms are different lengths, kind of weird. They end up being kind of similar, but I have, and if you guys, you might be able to see it through photos on Instagram. I haven't really looked at it. I should post something to really show it.
Yeah.
My forearm is longer on one side by almost an inch, and my humerus, is that how you say it?
You were asking the wrong person.
Is same thing on the other side, like a little bit shorter by just over like half an inch. And you can see it if you look at like the length of my biceps, like if I like stand in like an anatomical position. I have narrow hips. I don't have really broad shoulders though. But there are characteristics that you get from your father, like from your male donator, that can definitely allow you to be better at certain things that happen to be very athletic, right? Running, sprinting, jumping, all these things that are male-dominated sports or whatever.
We were made to look this way.
So if you think about it, just when you make a baby, it's like you're going to get characteristics from both parties. And that's just the way that it is because that's how you make babies. And depending on, now we want to figure this out. It's like depending on your interests growing up. You could literally be perfect. Gina, remember how the doctor told you that you had like a dancer break in your foot? And I was like, I didn't know you were a dancer.
Yeah, ballerina break.
Ballerina.
Yes.
You're physically, let's say all of your characteristics, your everything could make you perfect.
Oh, like for a
to
certain...
be a ballerina. Okay?
Right.
But if you never are interested in that and you don't develop the skills to be the best at that, then you won't be that. And your body may never develop to look exactly like what a typical ballerina looks like. So
it's a good point.
It's like, and they talk, there's actually, I don't remember which country it was. They did a study. I think it was through like the Winter Olympics. And they took people from different sports that because of like characteristics that they had, because of their explosiveness or like all these things that they had.
Oh, they could like notice it early and like groom them.
But no, this was actually, I think it wasn't early. It was like later.
Oh, okay.
But they basically took people and they did like a study and they moved them into different sports and trained them in that because based off of, it was like a hypothesis, based off of those things, they should and could be really good at this. And they did that and it was actually very successful. I shouldn't say very successful, but they basically proved that, you know, but if you don't, if you could be built to be, you know, a pole vaulter, but if you don't ever have the interest in doing that, you won't
you would
have
never
that
know,
because
right.
no matter like people that want to say, oh, they're genetics. It's like, well, you may have the genetics for it, but it still takes a ridiculous amount of hard work. You have to develop that.
Right.
You have to develop that. And then based off of how you're built, that can definitely lend a hand into that sport. It's like in CrossFit, you start to see a lot of like the top level people all start to kind of have very similar physiques, similar height. And there might be outliers in there. You know, we used to see taller guys in the CrossFit Games years back, but that's also before the sport and the people have become so developed
right,
and so good. And you start to weed out people that can't be good at everything, can't be like
right.
really
They're
good
just
at
not built
everything.
for it.
Because you're not built for it. It's
Right.
like putting you on a rower next to like Keely from the gym.
Right.
Keely's like, how
she'd
tall
still
is she?
probably kick my ass, but
how
yes.
tall is she?
No, I don't know, like 5 foot,
Yes. How tall are you?
almost 5'10".
Yes.
Yeah.
You're built for a rower. You're built for like wall balls. If you have a high wall ball target, anyone who's small hates it because they can't. It's like so much harder to get the ball to the target.
Right.
But then you take someone like Keely and put her doing toe to bar,
Oh yeah.
handstand push-ups, and
can't
you're
do it.
fucked.
Yeah.
You know, it's like
Right.
I'm fucked because it doesn't matter how
Right, because
fast I move.
I feel like you're on the taller side of some of the athletes.
But I am. If you look at the people that you would say we're all very similar, me, Katrin, Sarah,
Are you guys all the same height?
yeah,
Oh, okay.
like very similar and all physically built quite the same.
Yeah.
Annie is taller, but not much. And then you have like Brooke Wells. She's about my height too. Maybe
Is she? No, I think
little.
she's
Maybe
shorter than you.
I don't think so. Maybe a little bit smaller. So I'm just under 5'7".
Yeah.
And
Well, it's funny how many people see you and they're like, "You're so tight. You're so much smaller than I thought."
You see me in most people see me in person. They're like, "Oh my god, you're so much smaller than I thought you were."
You're like my little baby. I can carry you like a baby.
Gina's always like, "I'm just gonna put you in my pocket." But yeah, so moral of this conversation, besides the fact that I'm not on steroids, so go fuck yourself, is that think logically. Like before you want to judge anybody, 1, you don't know them. 2, you don't know their parents. 3, you don't know their background.
Right.
You know, you don't know anything about them, so shut up.
Well, I just
know?
feel like people should get educated, but I honestly think that just some people just like to be mean.
Well, I'm 100. I actually think that people are paid to troll.
Maybe. Maybe.
Maybe.
What a shitty job.
Yeah.
I think everyone's been experiencing some, stress, anxiety. Some people have chronic pain, trouble sleeping at least once a week, but you're not alone. A lot of us do. And so, when you're searching for something to work, you're just about to, try anything. And a glass of wine doesn't always do it. So I'll tell you what we found. It's called Feels. It's a CBD. It's premium CBD delivered directly to your doorstep. Feels naturally helps reduce stress, anxiety, pain, and sleeplessness. Personally, for me, it's sleeplessness. So that's where Feels comes in for me. Feels works naturally to help you feel better. There's no high, hangover, or addiction. You can join the Feels community to get Feels delivered to your door every month. You'll save money on every order, and you can pause or cancel any time. Feels has us feeling our best every day, and it can help you too. Become a member today by going to feels.com/reps, and you'll get 50% off your first order with free shipping. That's feals.com/reps to become a member and get 50% automatically taken off your first order with free shipping. Feels.com/reps.
Thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast. We really appreciate you and want to stay connected with you. So please rate, review, and subscribe to help this podcast grow.
And if you like the podcast, get the word out.
And now back to the show. I remember when I was little in like elementary school, I definitely remember going to the bathroom with my friends and showing off our underwear we were wearing.
Nice.
Oh, okay.
Okay. But that's like as far as we took it. So when I was
When you say it like that, like everyone else has a different story. What?
I mean, but we're talking about like vaginas. Like I literally didn't fully understand that, like you said, Matt, that vaginas are like snowflakes or
Yes, they're all very
fingerprints.
different.
Very
We
different.
should print them.
I feel like
for criminals.
Oh my God! What if like that was the like we did
Roll ink on it.
we
and
did
fucking
we
slap.
did we did an art show, and all it is prints of like your stamp.
Someone's definitely done that.
Yeah.
Has to.
If not,
of your
they should.
vagina?
What they should do is that for the Hollywood Walk of Fame instead of handprints.
And then for dudes, it's just balls.
Just a dong.
Can you imagine being
Matt
out
came
there
on
like?
today. He didn't realize he was our expert on vaginas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So today we're talking about vaginas. Yeah,
Well, he would be more of an expert. You see more. I mean, I can't even see mine unless I'm like.
that's true.
That's true. I've definitely
can see it from the
in my
front.
life I've been closer to one than I imagine either of you have.
Yeah.
But I mean I don't know how you party.
Yeah.
That's true.
Hey,
I'm
their
not
own.
against. Yeah,
Right.
Party's
not against it.
party.
I always
That's what
said
I'm
I'd be the
saying.
most selfish lesbian.
I saw a T-shirt the other day that said, "I'm not gay, but $20 is $20."
I'm not gay. I just like to party.
I like it.
Yeah, dongs are relatively all the same. Occasionally you get an outlier and you're like, oh, fascinating. What do you do with that?
Where does
It's
that go?
terrifying.
But like the first time I realized like vaginas were different was the real first time that like I fully changed in front of other girls. So like I grew up dancing, so like quick changes or kind of getting almost naked was it's super normal. Like I definitely
nudist.
I'm a nudist.
You are a nudist. You literally like.
I'm not a big fan of the clothes.
She walks around naked the whole time.
All the time.
All the time.
Fair.
Yeah.
I remember one of my best friends, and she was a roommate of mine in college. She used to, she loved it because like she'd come home and like not have her key, and I would always greet her in the nude. It's always
It
naked.
does not surprise me.
So,
Yeah. Welcome home.
yeah. It's
One
confidence.
day, all this will be yours.
It's a weird butler you have.
Yeah. Yeah, you know. But yeah, first time changing clothes, and I thought to myself, I'm not gonna look at it.
Yeah, you don't want to
You
look
don't
like
wanna
you're.
make eye
You don't wanna,
contact.
yeah, you don't want
You
to
know,
glance too
and I don't
long.
want to like for you to know that I'm looking at it because if you ask me what I'm looking at or my opinion, I don't know if I could like be honest.
Your hip?
Yeah, like someone's gonna be like, "So what do you think?"
I mean, I might.
So really,
Yeah.
what do you think?
Like with you, I might be like, will you check me out?
Yeah, no, you're
Okay.
good.
What
You're
do you
good.
think this
The first
thing
time,
looks like?
glanced it.
Is it a disaster?
Right. What am I working with here? First time, glanced and thought, different
Yeah.
than mine.
Well, I guess I realized that I got into porn probably way earlier than a human should have.
What do you mean? If you got into it, you were just watching
Not
it?
participating.
Dabbling.
I've lived in Chatsworth for
No,
quite some time.
I found a plethora of porn at a young age,
Okay.
and then definitely didn't shape my probably sexual appetite the correct way. If
Okay,
I
well,
was guessing.
on that note, everybody, welcome to
Welcome
Between the
to
Reps
Between the Reps with Brooke and
with Brooke and
Gina.
Gina. And we have a guest today, a really good friend of mine is Matt Vincent. And Matt,
Welcome, Matt.
Yeah,
Welcome.
Now that you've
Like a
learned,
welcome mat, like you'd step on.
Oh yeah, that was a good pun.
more like a welcome. If you were a welcome mat, you'd be one that I'd have on the inside of the house. That people already wipe their shoes on the outside mat.
Nice.
You know, you'd be the inside mat.
And more, I would be made of like memory foam. Like
Memory
cushy.
foam. Oh, soft.
Yeah, you'd step and you'd be like, I'll stay here.
Yeah. And maybe around where your name
Also
is.
heated.
Yeah, warm. But not too thick, though, because you used to be a fat mat.
Used to be a bit chunkier.
Yeah.
Which I didn't. I thought I had recognized him. I met you what 2015.
Yeah, you met a different version of
Yeah.
like a 1.0.
And I said, I think I've met you before. You're like, you look familiar. And you're like, oh yeah, we met in Tahoe. And I was like, oh my God. And you're like, I was a lot fatter.
I was a lot fatter
back
a lot
then.
fatter back then.
That's what they call
Yeah.
it. When you lose
you look
60
amazing.
pounds of adipose tissue, that's what you got rid of.
Well, Matt Vincent is a 2 times world champ, Highland Games.
Yeah.
And we are on the podcast today, besides just talking a little bit about, everything about you and a lot of the different businesses that you are doing and a lot of different fitness and health backgrounds that you have. But we are going to touch base on the Highland Games because, one, honestly, the only stuff that I even know about it is from when we've talked about it.
Right.
Gina has no idea about it.
No clue.
Yeah,
And I think
it's a weird
most
sport not a people
I just
are
feel like
familiar
it's
with.
a people
Especially in the
killed,
United States.
like throwing logs.
You're not wrong.
Okay.
You're not far off.
I'm like,
That's how I just, when
Yeah.
people are like, Highland Games, huh? And then they immediately think it's the stone lifting, like strongman, and then you have to correct them. And you're like, you need chubby guys and kilts throwing a telephone pole, and they're like, all right. And I'm like, well, there's 8 other events too, and we
Right.
do all those.
Okay, so why don't we'll start there.
We'll go over the
We'll
events.
actually start with Highland Games first.
Perfect. Highland Games talk.
Yeah, the Highland Games. First of all, before we get the events, just how'd you start?
So I was a thrower in college. So
Okay.
shot disc hammer at LSU. And then I was super average at all 3 of those. And well, it's not wrong to say that. Like, if you were 10% better than me as a collegiate thrower, you would have thrown, I don't know, like 66 feet, which is far enough to kind of chase it post-collegiately and like maybe kid yourself about going to trials or the Olympics.
Uh-huh.
And then if you were 10% worse than me, you were terrible.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Average.
in 3
Okay.
sports.
Perfect.
So-
You know, and all 3 events. And then got out of that, took a few years off of lifting and did a bike shop thing for a while. And then got back into lifting during
What kind of
strongman.
bikes? What kind of
So, like road bikes, mountain
Okay.
bikes. I owned a bicycle shop for 4 or 5 years. And then when that failed, got back into training and did strongman for a couple years, did powerlifting for a couple years, did some weightlifting, and then finally did a Highland Games and really liked it and realized I was good at it. Since if you were a thrower in college, it's like cheating.
Yeah.
You're going into it knowing how to do things already.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
And having just like a full athletic background, you knew how to move your body with load, like all different types of load, especially coming from strongman competition.
right. And so I was already
Like
strong
awkward
enough to
things.
do it. And then with the throwing background and knowing how to apply force like that to a stone or shot put or any of that, like it's a real easy transition.
Is the Highland? Did you do your first competition in the States?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so most of the time I competed was in the States.
Okay.
They have them like every
Because you
weekend.
think of like Scotland.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. And so,
So
like
they're everywhere.
everywhere.
Okay.
And so they have them as usually like part of big festivals. So it's like a Renaissance festival.
I've been
and
to a
stuff like
Renaissance
that. Yeah.
festival,
okay.
and they did have that there actually.
Yeah, so that's typically where we would compete. So I did a couple years as an amateur, 2008, 2009. 2009, 2010 were like the first full seasons I did, and then 2011 I got to go to. I won an amateur world championship, and then 2 weeks later went to the professional world championship, which was a shock. I was supposed to go the following year, but they were just like,
awesome.
"You're there in 2 weeks." I'm like, "Sick."
You're ahead of schedule.
Yeah, so showed up, threw well, took second.
Where
and
was
then,
that? Where is that at? Where do they usually have that at?
Worlds that year was at Loon Mountain in New Hampshire.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So
So they vary
States,
every year.
right, okay.
Worlds rotates. It was in 2012 was the first full year as a professional through, and then won a world championship in Fergus, Ontario. And then 2013 took second. 2014 I won again in Scotland.
Yeah, because I remember we had
that's
talked about
cool.
that, and I knew that you had been over there. So was that the
It's
first
fun.
time you competed over there?
No, I'd gone the year before in 13 and did a couple games.
Okay.
So I would get invited over, and if it's different over there. So instead of it being like every weekend and part of a festival, you could do like 3 in a week.
Oh, okay.
oh,
So
Is it part of a festival over there too?
yeah,
or
but
is
the
it?
festivals are smaller. And so it's a little
So
bit
do they have
less
more
of a thing.
experience doing it because they're doing it more often?
Yeah.
Or because it's, I guess
Yes and no.
I feel like it's from there.
They're good at it, right? Like they're
Yeah.
technically good at the sport, but they don't have the same depth that we do athletically because there's just not as many people.
Got
Okay,
it.
yeah.
We have a lot of folks in the States that are guys like me that weren't great throwers in college that are still looking for a thing to do.
Right.
And so some of them make their way into the Highland Games and do real well.
And you won that one.
I won the one in Scotland, yeah. So Worlds
That's
in
pretty
Scotland
cool.
was pretty
That is cool.
And both of the Worlds that I did came down to last event, last throw, which were real fun.
So there's
far as-
eight events.
So what
so
are
we,
they?
we throw 9 total events. So we throw 2 stones, look just like the shot put.
Okay.
One of them you throw standing. It's a heavier stone, like 22 pounds. Then we throw a lighter one that you get full approach, so you can spin or glide or whatever it is. And that one's 16. We throw 2 weights for distance. And so it's basically a steel block, couple links of chain, and a ring handle on it.
And you hold the handle.
Yeah, so you
obviously.
throw it with one hand, and you throw it. It kind of looks like the discus.
Okay.
So 2 spins and throw it. So you throw a 28 pound as the light, and you throw a heavy, which is 56. And then we throw 2 hammers, which is a 22 or 16 pound ball on the end of a stick. Mm-hmm. And so you stand still and swing it around your head and throw it as far as you can. And then, so that's 6 events. We throw a 56 over a bar for height. We throw the caber, which is the telephone pole that everyone's mostly familiar with.
Okay.
The big.
You have to you
log.
cradle it
Yeah,
like
yeah.
this.
You pick it up off the ground, then you run with it and try to flip it in the other end. And then we occasionally, not so much in Scotland, but in the States, we throw a lot in an event called the sheaf, which is like a 20-pound burlap bag that you throw with a pitchfork for height.
Whoa.
So yeah, I traveled with a pitchfork as athletic gear. I have my own pitchfork. No big
And
deal.
I bitch about when I travel for
Like the gear you have to bring.
just
God,
because,
I traveled with so much stuff.
dude. Did
Like,
you drive everywhere?
No, I flew
How many
everywhere
bags
in the States.
did you take?
One, but what I buy is this big rolling plastic toolbox from Home Depot. Uh-huh. And so I've got boots, soccer cleats, spikes, gloves, a belt, chalk, tacky spray, tape, everything in there. Knee sleeves, fucking belt, all the regular
Yeah.
bullshit too, right? And it doesn't check in as oversized. So
No?
as long as you can keep it
No.
under 50 pounds, you just put locks on it and send it. And
Nice.
they will destroy them.